Hello and welcome to Devotion to Writing, a channel devoted to helping you cultivate a daily writing practice and realize you are creative abundance. I wanted to talk about the opportunity we have today to write. Anytime we sit down to create, to make something new, it's an opportunity to begin again. It's also an opportunity to show up for ourselves, to show up and make with the world. It's an opportunity to create something that has never been in the world before. And think of that. Before we sat down and put pen to page or paint to canvas, the thing didn't exist, and then it does. We have an opportunity to play, to be playful. We can certainly use more play in our daily lives. I know I can. The joy of just playing, of expressing, of experimenting, of discovering. And also the opportunity to realize something in us which we hadn't realized before we wrote, before we started to make with our present moment. And we get to add this moment of creation to the many moments before in which we've created, intentionally created. I'm reminded of this, I think, because this morning I found some old work of mine. I'd forgotten about it. It was in a folder on my computer, and for whatever reason I was cleaning things up and it opened up. And what struck me is, first of all, that it existed at all. I had completely forgotten about this, and now to find this piece of work and to engage with it again was really quite a treasure. I had made that at one time. I don't even remember how long ago. It could have been years. It wasn't that it was an incredible piece of work, except that it existed. And had I not taken that opportunity then, however long ago it was, to create it in that moment, in the past, when something had moved through me, moved me to write it, moved me to make it, a moment that I brought my attention to bear on a moment, that wouldn't exist. So the excitement was, here's an artifact of a moment in which I knew I was alive. And that, I thought, that has value. That has value. And seeing it and feeling that thing that I knew I was alive inspired me to engage with it and to write something from it. So it produced something years later that I had never known it could or never intended. I needed that piece of art today, this morning. I really did. It was kind of a rainy, dreary morning, winter. It's February here where I am, and February where you are, I'm sure, as well, but it's winter here where I am. So I really needed that this morning, and it really spoke to me. And as I said, it wasn't a grand or eloquent piece, but it held something living, something I was and am yet trying to get at, I think, to figure out and discover in myself. It held that seed that I'm trying to grow and bloom. And this further reminds me of really what I wanted to share, part of what I wanted to share with you, which is something that the poet Stanley Kunitz wrote about. Now, Stanley Kunitz, he's passed, he's no longer alive. He had a writing desk in his walkout basement, and it was in front of a window. It faced out into the garden. And while you really couldn't see much of the garden, you could kind of just see some of the hillside. What was prominently framed by the window that his desk looked out of is a compost pile. And Kunitz, like many artists, like many writers, I think understood that creating anything we create, we write, is just adding to and turning, keeping hot this compost pile. When we write anything, no matter how bad we think it is, we are adding compost to the pile. And this does two things. One, it adds fuel. Anytime you add material to a pile of compost, It's adding fuel to it. It's more that has to break down. It activates all the organisms and the microbes that are at work there. That is breaking it down to become food for feeding the plants in the garden for what comes next. Compost heaps are such rich environments. They have worms, and they have bugs and other types of insects that are breaking down. They have microbes. They have all of these elements that are enriching the soil. And all the writing we do, similarly, is enriching the soil of all of our creativity, of this pile of our creativity. And it contributes to this, enriching it. It is all good material. It will break down. It will be transformed into something. It will grow something else, but only if we make. Because if we don't make, we don't have the material on hand to add to the pile. So that's one thing. We get to add material to the compost. The second thing that writing does, regardless of good writing, bad writing, just continuing to write, is it turns the pile. Compost has to be kept hot. Heat is generated by the life of the microbes and the organisms. It also has oxygen in it, and so when we turn it, we keep adding, we keep breathing into it. So when we write, we are breathing into the compost. We are turning it with our creativity, with this fresh addition of material. We are keeping the compost hot by working. We are revisiting, we are revising, we are using, we are digging into the material when we show up to write. We are digging in to the material that is already stored, and we're mixing in the new stuff that we are adding just by exercising our creativity. So I encourage you to work today, to write, to just write anything, write everything. It could be a sentence, it could be a word, an idea, at the beginning of a story, the whole story, it doesn't matter. Just write something. Make something that you've always wanted to make. Trigger yourself to feel, to care, to love just for an instant, for 5 minutes today, for 10, for a half an hour, however long. Write something. Add it to your composting pile of creativity. This heap is so critical to your garden, to the garden you are growing, to the garden you hope to grow. You don't know what any of this will become. You don't know what it's going to feed. You don't know what's going to sprout from it. But it's a guarantee that something will. If you just keep adding and you keep turning, something is going to come of it. It's going to be rich, nutrient rich. It's going to sprout. I mean, I have a compost pile in my yard, and a pumpkin has grown out of it. I didn't plant it there. It just was a seed that was in the soil, and it grew a beautiful pumpkin. Similarly, our writing, regardless of how we feel about it when we make it, we just keep putting it on. We do not know what seeds our creations hold. So, write today, write anything. Here, by the way, is the Stanley Kunitz poem that contains the compost pile. It's called The Round. I want to share this beautiful poem with you, and maybe it will inspire you. It goes like this. Light splashed this morning on the shell-pink anemones swaying on their tall stems. Down blue-spiked veronica, light flowed in rivulets over the humps of the honeybees. This morning I saw light kiss the silk of the roses in their second flowering. My late bloomers flushed with their brandy. A curious gladness shook me. So I have shut the doors of my house. So I have trudged downstairs to my cell. So I am sitting in semi-dark, hunched over my desk, with nothing for a view to tempt me but a bloated compost heap, steamy old stink pile under my window. And I pick up my notebook and I start to read aloud the still wet words I scribbled on the blotted page, light splashed. I can scarcely wait till tomorrow. when a new life begins for me, as it does each day, as it does each day. The Round by Stanley Kunitz. So, writing is an opportunity to begin again. Here's a prompt, maybe, to help you begin. What's growing out of what you've thrown away? What's grown out of what you've thrown away? So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video is helpful. If it was, please subscribe and please like it. Please share it with a friend. Love to help as many people cultivate a daily writing practices as I can. I also have one announcement, and that is that starting March 25th and going through April 22nd, March 25th is a Tuesday evening, I will be doing a 5-week Zoom workshop, Zoom online from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can register at devotiontowriting.com, or you can message me and I'll set you up, send you the link. But again, it is 5 Tuesday evenings from 7 to 8:30 starting March the 25th, going through April to the 22nd. Hour and a half, Tuesday nights. We'll be talking about devotion. We'll be talking about writing. We'll be doing some writing. It could really help you kick into gear if you need it. So as spring's coming, we can kick into some creative growth. So thank you again for watching. I hope that you write deeply today. I know that if you do write, you will write beautifully, because beautiful is what you are. Blessings.